This is the revolutionary hour.
What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? What's good? This is your boy, Mr. E, Boss of the Southside Bosses, here on BOSS Radio's Revolutionary Hour, where we bring y'all nothing but information that you can utilize in your life, knowledge that you can be able to help expand your horizons and build upon in order to be able to gather all of the powers that we are supposed to be able to have. So I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. I also want to ask you all to like and subscribe to our channel on your favorite streaming service, whether that's Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, or more. We're all over the web. All you have to do is put in Revolutionary Hour and we will pop up, baby. You will see us, that big bright red and green sign. You heard that. So after you do that, make sure you share us to all your family and friends, because like I said, we do bring you knowledge that can help build your life up, and we want to help uplift fallen humanity, as the Prophet Noble Drew Ali reiterated. That was what Yahshua, aka Jesus's mission in life. A lot of people think that a lot of this was pretty much religion, when it really wasn't religion. It was more of like political movement. So we definitely like to get y'all into that knowledge so you can fully understand what is really going on. But today we're going to have a great show for you. We got a great interviewee. We've had this author on before. He has wrote some great books, such as Introduction to Moorish Race and Nationality through the Moorish Society. He also helped put together Moorish Nationality and Status through the Moorish Society. He has written a plethora of books, so definitely want to get him on today. So we're going to be talking to Aemer Mujaddid. Excuse me, I always butcher his name, so I will get him the real name. I know Aemer, but we've had this had an interview with him before, so we will be rehashing that interview up so you can get some information about his books and about the history of the Moors and how they are very pertinent in this society today. So we just want to make sure that you get the necessary info that you need. So when we come back, we're going to be introducing him and we'll be getting it on. So right now we want to get a word from one of our sponsors, and then a little bit of music, and then when we come back, we'll be right back. This is Jah Love by Watusi here on Revolutionary Hour. You dig?
Situation, Babylon, bring down the nation, terrorize all creation, politics and discommunication. Some say power to the people, some say church and the steeple, but the root of all is love. One love is for all of us. Jah love. One love.
BOS says Radio, Southside Bosses, its owners and associates take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show host or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the site or the radio station, and opinions between talk show hosts may conflict. This site does not endorse anything as the truth. That you will have to judge for yourself. But we try to speak the truth on the owner's behalf and reserve the right to question the supposed truth. In this time of misinformation, government-controlled media, and government corruption, it is sometimes hard to get to the truth, but we must try. It is not our intention to libel, discriminate, make hate, or annoy anyone. We believe that it is our constitutional First Amendment right of free speech to voice our opinions and our duty to the Constitution and country to expose the truth. This site takes no responsibility for the opinions of
All right, everybody, what's good? This is your boy, Mr. E, boss of the Southside Bosses here on Revolutionary Hour, and we do have our guest in the building on the phone with us right now. We got Aemer on the phone. How you doing this afternoon, sir?
All good. I'm good. Maintaining. How's everything going?
Man, it's going good. It's going good, man. We just been building up ever since the last interview that we had with you, man. And I see that you've been working as well. So definitely glad to have you back on here to get some updates and find out exactly what's going on with you. Cause we know you've been like 10 toes down in like on front line handling business. So we definitely want to get some updates about what you got going on. So it's good to have you on, man. Appreciate joining us.
Great, man. Great. It's great to be invited. You know, it's good to see that it's some brothers in the media out there that's actually interested in what we got going on. And with that, I'm here. You got any questions?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, well, before we actually get into the subject matter, I did want to get your thoughts about the Prime Minister of Japan being shot and killed today. That was a major tragedy right there. But somebody said on the news kind of sparked my interest, and I was just wanting to get your thoughts about it. But he said that that with all the major countries now in the disarray, like he was wondering what do you think this will lead to? I just want to get your thoughts. What do you think this is all leading to?
Just chaos. Just more chaos. I see these types of incidents no different than when Dolph was assassinated, or Mo 3, or any of these prominent rappers of the black community. They got the same type of situations going on in their circles. Jealousy, envy, greed, all of that.
Okay, yeah, you're right about that. And it's definitely in the when you get power and you get success and your name is known, yeah, that jealousy will rear its head. So, just want to send a shout out to his family. Hopefully everything is all good. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. A while back, there was an article, or a few articles actually, talking about proximity murders. Because there's a big thing where they want to say that the black community is just violent and, they're killing each other. But the reality is, as the FBI data shows, that murders or killings are largely based on proximity. If you live in a certain area, you're around a certain group of people, if you get killed, it's probably going to be someone from that group, versus someone that you never met or had nothing to do with, most cases anyway. So I see that as the same situation when they stepped on Kennedy in Dallas. There's documentaries out right now. I think it's on Netflix, matter of fact, that's going into how the Secret Service covered up the fact that when Kennedy first got hit, a Secret Service agent behind him attempted to fire back, and in the process hit Kennedy in the head.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You know, so that part of the story has been covered up for decades. You know, we were left with thinking the other guy, the grassy knoll guy or whatever, was the one, you know, that delivered the final, you know, the shot that killed him.
Right.
You know, but according to this document and released government paperwork, one of the Secret Service agents riding in that car attempted to fire back, and in the process of doing so, hit Kennedy in the back of the head. So, you know, it was, you know, but the facts say another thing. You know, so that's why I said these, you know, these type of situations, I don't see them no different than what's going on in any other community or any other level.
Right. I mean, and honestly, it's like after you said that, it kind of made me think about something that you had said in your in the paperwork that you sent me that we're going to be talking about today. They pretty much, it was the judicial conduct of that. And I believe it's the Judicial Conduct and Disability Act that you was referencing in there a lot, and it was pretty much them hiding or hiding due process from you, trying and thinking that you probably didn't understand it. Like, can you explain that a little bit better?
Yeah. So your due process is, for the most part, described by case law and whatever rules, regulations, or statutes that pertain to your situation. So they have rules in the courts. They have criminal rules. They have civil rules. Every venue has rules. So what they're doing is they're not following the rules. They want you to follow the rules, but then they don't follow the rules when you are following the rules.
Wow.
You know, so
that's,
you know, it's foolishness, but it's that this is what's happening at, you know, the top level of our government, and it's also happening at the bottom. You know. So when the court's not following the rules, they're violating your due process. So for people who aren't studying the rules, don't know the rules, most of the time they ain't gonna know when their due process was violated because they don't know the rules.
right. I mean, you got people that are always talking about their rights and so on and so forth, but they don't even know the rules that govern those rights. Like, how do I exercise those rights? Like, people say I got the freedom of speech, but you could be sued for defamation of character. So you can't really just say anything you want. Is that like the scenario that we're looking at right now?
Well, when it comes to, yeah, you know, you can say anything you want, but there's consequences to it. If you're lying, you know, there's consequences. There's civil liability, there's criminal liability, depending on, you know, where the lie goes and what it causes. But there is no restriction on truth and facts. However, you can be retaliated against for speaking truth and facts.
Right.
Retaliation is illegal, but
Right.
It's illegal, but it happens, and it's very common. And a lot of us aren't aware of what constitutes retaliation. So don't know how to deal with it when it happens. You know, I got to send you some links, but anybody listening can go to YouTube and punch in the House Judiciary Committee, which is the congressional committee that talks about problems with the judiciary. Congress speaking about problems with the judiciary. Go on there and search civil rights and qualified immunity and judicial misconduct. There's been several hearings before Congress. I look at the numbers on YouTube; they're too low. They're way too low. I mean, the entire black community should be zoomed in on those particular hearings.
Yes.
Paying attention to was paying attention to what's being said, what's being revealed, what's known, so on and so forth. But that's just that they're not. It's not the situation. But they need to jump on that. But I just want to bring up about that. One of the hearings, they have a lot of experts coming in and giving their testimony on, why things need to be changed and upgraded and so on and so forth. And one of them was explaining that the majority of attorneys do not want to take civil rights cases because of doctrines like qualified immunity. So for the poor or impoverished community, if their civil rights is violated, in the most cases, really nothing they can do about it other than, what I'm doing, and that's only going so far because it's not popular, it's not trending, it's not going viral,
It ain't no Al Sharpton's promoting it and stuff like that.
Nah, not at all.
Right.
I used to had years ago dealing with this same case. I don't know if I mentioned it before. You'll probably see it in the document. But I got a federal human trafficking probable cause finding against a white, crooked, corrupt law enforcement official.
Wow.
And it's in limbo. It's in limbo because justice has been instructed. And my community per se hasn't put no support and attention behind it. I reached out to Malik Shabazz at a time when he was posting messages inviting people to contact his office whose civil rights has been violated. He received all that information. He didn't jump on the case. He didn't jump on the case. And I'm probably, we're going to use this term black for the sake of modern times, I'm probably the only black man in the country with a probable cause finding for human trafficking against a white law enforcement official.
Wow.
And it's got it's been sent to plenty black attorneys. None of them jumped on it. So that's what we're dealing with.
Now, you're saying it's a lot of these attorneys aren't jumping on it, but we was also talking before we actually got on the mic. You were saying something about the judges being attorneys and that they're still up under the bar. Does that have anything to do with why these attorneys aren't jumping on these obvious cases that can be taken and rectified?
Yeah. Absolutely. They don't want to. They don't want to rock. If you got a lot of black ones, don't want to rock the boat. A lot of the some of the black ones that don't want to rock the boat. You have other ones that are clearly enforcing white supremacist policies. In fact, Judge Theodore McKee, Third Circuit. This is the black man, or the African American, as he calls himself, and as the so-called prominent African American community refers to him, is responsible for obstructing justice with regards to that human trafficking charge and the civil relief I should have got surrounding the forged arrest warrant applications that the white law enforcement official falsified and fabricated and used to abuse the judicial process. So he has this evidence, and he did exactly the opposite of what his job requires him to do, and he's black.
Man. And
He was in a recent article titled Third Circuit Judge Says the Constitution hasn't worked for African Americans as it has for whites. So I'm criticizing him about that article.
right.
And, my litigation. When you criticize a judge about something he said in the public, something they say in the public is considered to be an extrajudicial source. So if you want to disqualify a federal judge, one of the criteria is to get at them about an extrajudicial source. Something they said in the media, something they said in a book they published, or some kind of paper they published, something they said outside of the courtroom. So I got at him about that article and some other things that he said, because he has interviews on YouTube coming from different civic organizations that he done spoke at up there perpetrating like he's actually some kind of just man. I don't know, going just man. This guy is a liar. This guy is a fraud all the way. One of the interviews on YouTube, search Theodore McKee. Watch his interview. Listen to him.
Theodore McKee.
One of them talking. What'd you say?
No, I was just repeating his name. I'm taking all my listeners out there. If you need to be doing what I'm doing, taking notes, because I'm writing down everything I can right now, because it's a lot of knowledge he's about to drop. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, Judge Theodore McKee. He got an interview where he's talking about bias in the courts, and he gets into the dog test, from the 60s, where they had the kids, the white kids and the black kids looking at the black and the white dogs, and all the kids, the black and the white kids, were picking the white dog. He talked about all that context of bias. I used his own words against him in a disqualification, because he's obstructing justice. Guy's out of control. He goes on to talk about his childhood, how he grew up in, I think it's Rochester, New York. When he was in Rochester, New York, it was a majority white town that had probably about 4 other black families in it. So this guy is not a black man that was raised around majority black people, like I am.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
He may be skin folk, but he ain't kin folk.
Yeah.
Got you.
For him to sit there and do what he has done, it's just an example of the idea that putting blacks in government is going to change things. It's not true. It's not true.
Right.
It's not true at all. There's another black judge, Judge Grant from New Jersey, administrative officer of the courts. He knows what's going on. He's on the state level, though. He knows what's going on. He ain't did nothing like he was supposed to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They all involved with suppression and trying to whitewash the issue and keep it quiet, cover up.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
The
Now,
legal phrase for it. It's getting at them about in the federal administrative process now, because that's what's going to get me relief is proving what they did, which is not hard because I have all the evidence. Problem is, it's not enough media attention on it, and I don't got no support from the actual black legal community, because the actual black legal community is represented by people like McKee.
right. People that get paid to what to put hand over fist in order to be able to trick the people and pretty much to take their rights away from them.
Absolutely. He say one thing, you do another. If you listen to him in his interviews, he sounds like a good guy that knows the law and that he's gonna follow up. But in reality, that's not who he is.
Right.
It's not his practice. He's doing the exact opposite. The exact opposite. You know what I mean? Now, and it's not just him. It's him and his colleagues. Most of them are white. But point is, he's black, and he was the chief at the time. He obstructed, chief of the Third Circuit, and at the time he obstructed justice in this particular case that's related to the human trafficking, probable cause finding against the white law enforcement official, and the civil side of that same situation, which was reliant upon the forged arrest warrant application. Now, when I say forged, I'm specifically talking about this person filled out arrest warrant applications with false statements, never filed them with the court when they were supposed to. When they get filed with the court, they get filed with the court in a deceptive manner, and the court thinks that they have already been issued because they're not reading the paperwork.
Right.
And the documents was never issued. See? So, it was real slick the way they did it. What happened was, I was caught up in the execution of a search warrant at a friend's residence. They were coming there for him in his residence. I happened to be there. You know how it go. See, when you're black or you're treated as black, and they come to execute a search warrant, they treating you like you on the search warrant, even
right?
Though you ain't got nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
And as white folks, it's different. They come in the house on a search warrant. They're not going to bother the other white people in the house. They might only make them exit the house, but they're not immediately throwing them in cuffs, dragging them out and all that. They're not doing that. And there's plenty of cases that show that, and there's plenty of them that show that coming from the same court that I'm talking about. So what happens is, this is the time period when the documents get falsified. The documents were falsified because they wanted to make the target. They wanted to coerce the target to provide a statement, which is coercion, criminal coercion, actually. But that's what happened. And the statement was, whatever they found in his residence belonged to him and only him, so on and so forth. So years go by. I don't know that documents haven't been filed. I just know I got locked the hell up and eventually released and told to come to court if I get anything from the court saying to come to court. 3 years go by, I don't get nothing.
Right.
I don't hear nothing. I don't get nothing. So I decided to drop a discovery request because I think I still got a pending case.
Wow. So you had to pretty much take charge and go find out if they charged you.
I didn't get nothing in the mail saying it was dismissed, and it's been 3 years.
Wow.
So I dropped a discovery request. I dropped a discovery request on the county prosecutor's office. Now, instead of the prosecutor's office sending me the discovery, they send me a letter telling me the case was downgraded to the municipal court and to ask the municipal court for discovery. So I'm like, okay, I didn't get nothing about the downgrade, but okay. So I contact the municipal court. The municipal court telling me they never got the case.
Oh, wow.
But they don't know what I'm talking about. Ain't no case in my system. I'm like, okay. I call the criminal division. Same thing. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Criminal division telling me ain't no case against you. We ain't got no case. We see what you talk about, but you wasn't indicted. So that's that. Ain't no probable cause against you. If you ain't indicted and we ain't got no case against you, contact the prosecutor's office. I'm like, they the ones that got this confusion going on.
Right.
So long story short, one of the guys in the prosecutor's office decided to send the forged arrest warrant applications to the municipal court using the criminal court's intermailing system.
Wow.
You see, there's a court rule, and there's a court rule that says if a person files a document addressed to one court in the state, if it's filed with the wrong office, that office is to forward it to the office it's addressed to.
Right. They
So
decide.
this is the process he used to have the criminal court send these bogus arrest warrant applications to the municipal court. The municipal court gets them. They looking at the address. Oh, this is from the criminal division. So they think they issued.
Instead of reading it, they're just looking at the address.
Instead of reading them and seeing that they've never been signed by a judge and they don't have probable cause findings.
Right. Now, I did see something on there where... I'm sorry, I want to ask something about that warrant, because I seen something in the paperwork that said something about a telephonic warrant. They was able to get a warrant through the telephone or something like that, but you called that out. Like, what is this like? What happened there?
So the white law enforcement official wrote telephonic on the arrest warrant application. It's three of them. It's three different documents. She wrote telephonic on all three of them to give the appearance that they were telephonic.
But that ain't how that goes.
The problem is she never talked to nobody on the phone. She never talked to no judge, and I know that because I got the record from the trial court administrator telling me they don't exist. They never existed. In fact, he went even further as to say that that court has never issued a warrant in my Morris name nor my given name.
Wow.
So, under the rule, this is in 2010. I made them change the rules. They changed the rules because of this situation. But they ain't trying to give me my credit and my bag that they owe.
Right. Right.
Right? Because I exposed her fraud, which the state probably been teaching them to do this for years. And that's probably a part of the reason why they trying to keep it suppressed, in theory. But I exposed what she did. And what she did was she half-ass followed the rules. So under the rules for a telephonic warrant in 2010 at this time for Jersey, first of all, you have to have what's called exigent circumstances. Exigent circumstances, it means something's crazy and unordinary is going on. Like you got to be chasing somebody down on the highway after they done shot a car up or something like that, and you need to get that warrant now, pronto. So you got to use the phone.
Right.
That's not the situation she had. We were at a private residence that she scoped out, targeted, and hit. So, and I just happened to be there. So she didn't even have the grounds to get a telephonic warrant if she wanted to. Besides that, so the rules tell the officer to, when they're on the phone, it's telling them that when they're on the phone with the judge, when the judge tells them to do this, do that, they're supposed to do it. So there's a section on it that the officer was supposed to write in per judge such and such after the judge told them to do so on the phone. Now this is all supposed to be recorded. It's supposed to be a transcript. It's supposed to be an audio file. All of that stuff's supposed to exist, right? None of that stuff exists. But let's say that all of that stuff is supposed to exist. So after is supposed to sign and date those same documents and make a probable cause finding. My documents are blank.
Wow.
That section where the judge is supposed to sign off and say if there's probable cause or not, all three documents are blank.
And that's where the notably forged
That's
is. That's where it comes where it's notably forged.
Yes, because under the forgery statute, it doesn't just cover somebody using somebody else's signature. It covers using a document that makes someone think it's legit. So because she wrote her judge on the document, people in the court that don't know the rules, because there's plenty of them in there working and they don't know the rules.
Right.
They know what they learned in their little training class. They don't know the rules. So when they're looking at it, they see her judge on there and they assume that was a judge's signature. And what they're looking at is not even the place where a judge would sign.
Wow. Exactly. It would be more towards the bottom of the page.
Yeah, there's a whole box there that says signature of judicial officers. It's blank. Now, on the flip side, my human trafficking charge against the white law enforcement official, that section is signed by a judge. The probable cause section has a no and a yes finding. The no finding was done by the court clerk who dealt with the complaint first. She said no. But the judge has the final say. So on May 1st, the court clerk said there was no probable cause against this white law enforcement official. And then on May 2nd, her superior officer, the actual judge of the court, looked at it and said yes. And that's not the only charge she got hit off with. That's just the one, as far as the federal, that's the one they gave me. It's other ones they haven't given me.
Right.
A lot of the state level charges I got against her, they gave those to me. But there's other federal ones that I didn't get, that they withheld.
Wow.
So I laid her I laid her out. So, point is, okay, on my charges against the law enforcement official, that box for probable cause, the clerk said no on the first, the judge said yes on the second. So when the judge makes the finding that overrides the clerk, the complaint is now issued. But it wasn't the only one. There were several of them. When the Third Circuit analyzed these documents, when it came to the Penance complaint, they said, we can't tell if probable cause is found or not because one box says no and one box says yes.
What? Don't they supposed to go automatically with the judge's box?
Exactly. Now that's common sense. Use common sense.
Right. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now, and I figured that out.
Now that's just common sense, but you have to look at the strategy, because they strategically omitted that the no check box is from the court clerk. They left that out of the discussion.
Wow.
Of the commentary. Don't even bring that up. And then to top it off, they said that I was trying to get the complaint processed against the very judge that issued the complaint.
Wait, what?
Instead of the white detective, the white law enforcement official.
They trying to change the defendant. That way it'll be an easy way to throw it out.
Oh, he's trying to get a complaint of peonage processed against the state and local judge when they knew the complaint was issued by the state and local judge. See, they got thrown off because ain't nobody ever do this, and they ain't nobody ever do this in their presence.
Right.
A lot of these judges we talking about are ex-prosecutors in some fashion. They either work for the U.S. Attorney's Office or they was a prosecutor in a state somewhere within whatever circuit they're working in. But mine is the Third Circuit. So these guys are former prosecutors who are now judges. Former criminal prosecutors who are now judges. So, and they brought those corrupt criminal prosecutor tactics with them to the bench. So yeah, so they omitted that the no box was signed by the clerk. They also omitted. Now this is the goofy stuff. The clerk that said no to the peonage, which is a type of human trafficking, exclusively dealing with the extortion of a debt, using the legal process to extort somebody for a debt is peonage, and it is a form of human trafficking.
Right.
And that is the federal charge pending against her in limbo for the last, since 2013, put it like that. It's pending in limbo because the state never transferred it to the federal government like they were supposed to. And when the federal government got it, they obstructed justice with it. So they're trying to act like it don't exist.
Right. Right.
Essentially. Or it does exist, but there's confusion with whether or not it's issued. Now, they have a duty to investigate. They have a common law duty to investigate, and they also have certain duties arising from statutory law that require them to investigate. So there should have never even been an opinion saying such a false statement, because if they really thought that it wasn't issued, then why wouldn't you contact the judge on the document?
Right. That's just, like you say, common sense.
I believe they did contact them, and I believe they do know it's issued. They just don't care.
That's seeing if you'll just go along with the rules, acquiescence.
Yeah. And the acquiescence would be not to accuse them of what they're doing, which is obstructing justice, which is criminal.
Right. Wow.
What they're doing is criminal. Obstructing the justice falls up under racketeering.
Now, I did see in the beginning of the document that you were stating that they denied the rights of citizenship because of your race being Moorish, Moor, and national origin, Empire of Morocco, and the religious identity is Muslim American. Is this like the beginning of when they trying to pretty much snatching your status and your jurisdiction away from you so that they can uphold these the rules that so that they can continue to break the rules that they are breaking?
Well, it boils down to discrimination.
Right.
Race and national origin discrimination and religious identity discrimination. Something we've always been dealing with. It's just I'm dealing with it in the Moorish identity.
Right.
And I'm dealing with that as a result of not having the support from the Moorish community outside. You know what we doing in our own little circle, but I'm talking about the greater Moorish community in the United States. I don't have that support from them. in addition to the fact that we don't have support from the black community either.
Right.
And we also don't have from the black legal community. Now, one of the things is that what they have started, attorneys have started conspiring to deprive Moorish litigants a due process. And I mentioned that in one of the appendixes I cite. I don't know if you, I don't know how far you read into it, but I'm referring to a paper published in Rutgers University by a former student who is now a Camden County prosecutor in New Jersey. She's an assistant Camden County prosecutor now. This paper is purely white supremacist. It's crock of BS. However, because a lot of the brothers in the past were not sharpening their jurisprudence blade, they were relying on sovereign citizen arguments. And what this did was gave the white supremacists in government an idea that they were going to exclusively define Moors as sovereign citizens and remove everything white American about the sovereign citizen movement from the narrative, and decide that, okay, we're going to classify these people that are saying they're Moors as sovereign citizens. So when they come in the court, we're going to down due process. It's that simple.
Wow.
It's that simple. You know, it ain't rocket science. It's that simple. And if you read the Rutgers paper, I'm gonna send you the link directly.
Okay.
Let's pull it up because it's Moorish Science Temple of America. Something. I won't pull it up, give you the exact name, but let me just finish this part. So in her paper, remember she's in law school now. She's learning from the judges and stuff that are in place, guys like McKee, you know, and she drafted this paper. It's published. It's still on there. And it tells you right in there what they're doing. She's telling on them, not realizing she's telling on them, because she thinks what she's saying is appropriate.
Right.
So besides the fact that she to actually associate the Moorish Science Temple with the Ku Klux Klan, she tried to paint the Moorish Science Temple in the light of the Ku Klux Klan.
Wow.
When they have nowhere near the same type of history, right? So then she further goes on to say that radicals have left the temples, and these Moorish radicals, right? In the same context of her talking about the radicals, she cites one of our cases, one of the very first cases that we tried to litigate when we really didn't know what the hell we was doing in terms of civil litigation. We had never sued before. We was just trying to exercise our rights and trying to defend our rights. This Judge Kugler, Judge Robert B. Kugler, he took this opportunity to do like a 200-something page opinion, where he a lot of it he's talking about the Moorish Science Temple. We not members of the Moorish Science Temple, but it's clear that they keep bringing them up because of the Moorish element.
Right.
Right? The Moorish element, because of the term Moorish, has to have something to do with the Moorish Science Temple. This is how they're thinking. So they got a large section in there about the Moorish Science Temple where they're painting the Moorish Science Temple in a bad light, saying things like 80-90% of their members are incarcerated and commentaries like this. And then they go into the sovereign citizen and redemptionist movement. Now, he's doing all that, in our opinion. And he took advantage of the opportunity because at that time he had a lot of members in different states that should not have had some of the authority that they had corporately at the time. And they essentially essentially had brought suits in the company name the same way we did in Jersey. So what the court decided to do was to look at all of their filings and then talk about all of us together as if we got one situation going on.
Try to group everybody together. Yeah, like pretty much what they did with black people,
Yeah,
just
and throw us under the bus.
right.
So, I mean, the opinion is full of all kind of false statements and blatant legal errors, but you got people from different Moorish groups trying to use that same opinion to cast BS light on the Moorish movement. So we got people in the Moorish movement that supports the due process violations that these corrupt judges are instilling and have planned to do so with all of us.
Wow. They
but I bring that up to bring us to this point. I'm getting at that same judge. I'm getting at him about his opinion. One of the discussions in the judiciary or the judicial conduct and disability rule talks about racial discrimination, national origin discrimination, so on and so forth. And it even talks about what they coined, what they phrased, race-related opinion. This guy's opinion is all about the Moorish race and trying to cast negative light on it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
getting at him about it, and every other Moor should be doing the same, because this guy's opinion has been, first of all, he cites his own opinion in new cases he deals with new Moors. So you got that going on. He, in his opinion, he's citing opinions from other judges, from other federal courts and other states that didn't like Moors too, and they saying bullshit. So they just regurgitating each other's bullshit.
Right.
And nobody has really sat down and got at them point to point like me until now. And I ain't gonna say till now, because I got at him a couple times when this past lawsuit, the last lawsuit that's involved with the document basically was reading regards the abuse of subpoena power, which is a form of abusive process. So I sued them for abusive process. What this same judge that authored the Moorish race-related opinion, he made sure he got the case. Anything dealing with Moors, he wants the case. So he made sure he got the case, and then he instructed justice by suppressing the subpoena evidence.
Okay.
Illegally.
Okay. And what
So
was?
why should his Moorish race-related opinion be given any credibility when in this recent case where I did everything he said to do? If I'm going to come back in the federal court, I followed his rule.
Right.
And he still obstructed justice by suppressing, whitewashing, covering up the subpoena evidence. And the subpoena evidence was the principal evidence that supported the lawsuit.
And without it,
So by stripping the subpoena evidence out of the narrative, you done strip what I'm standing on, and you ain't authorized to do that. But this is what we dealing with.
and people, and we're like, what steps could be taken whenever that does, like, because let's say I'm going through it and I don't know what to do next. They done stripped the key evidence that I need in order to keep my case alive and thriving. They done stripped that away from me, and it's on the verge of being tossed out. What is it that what I can do in order to be able to stop that from happening?
The most powerful thing we can do is get it on the media.
Okay.
Personally, what you can do is what I'm doing, going through the judicial conduct process. You can also file criminal charges because what they're doing is obstruction of justice. If you exclude the evidence attached with a civil complaint, you are obstructing justice. It's also called abuse of discretion. There's a lot of things you can do. Will they be effective? That is the question.
Right.
Will they be effective? Because of the corruption, and like in the likely case, no. The only way to overcome corruption is to have a strong media presence about whatever the corruption is. Other than that, they're going to always continue to try to cover it up, keep it quiet, and push you to the side like you don't mean shit.
Okay.
You know. So,
all right.
you know, you can still keep pressing them. You got to keep pressing them in terms of the process, because, you know, if you don't, for example, there's an impeachment process. To get a judge impeached, you have to go through the entire judicial conduct process to get the situation before Congress.
And that's just to get it before Congress. Like that.
Yeah, but then the only way it's going to get before Congress is if the judiciary governors, basically the people in the judiciary branch that's supposed to handle the administrative process, which is the judicial conduct process, if they don't do what they're supposed to do, the final phase of that process provides an opportunity for you to formally get that issue before Congress to discuss it, because only Congress can impeach, another federal official. So I'm 2 phases away. I'm 2 phases away, but that don't stop you. Like, that ain't stopping me from still sending my evidence and stuff to Congress, different Congress people that I feel like are on the same page, because there's a lot of them. That's why I said search House Judiciary Community and Judicial Conduct on YouTube, and you'll see the congressional hearings. They talking, but they saying the same thing I'm saying. It's just a lot of these people are higher up in corporate America. Some of them are actually ex-employees of the courts. They had to file complaints against judges because of certain things. They still got shitted on.
Right. Right.
You know, they worked for the courts. Some of them was lawyers already, worked as clerks and everything. Some of them experienced racism. Some of them experienced sexual harassment, things like that. So it ain't just regular litigants that are getting, thrown under the bus. It's also other people that's actually working in the court. So they're talking about this stuff in Congress and coming up with new ideas on how they're going to, put more restrictions on these judges and create better disciplinarian mechanisms. Because these guys, they got a lot of power, and we know power corrupts.
Right.
And these ones they are Batman quality corrupt.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow. It was a Batman quality.
And to be honest with you, I'm looking at the entire judiciary like that now, because there's just no way this type of stuff can be going on like this as a matter of standard customary practice without everybody on the team being on board with moving that way.
Right. And you could tell that the language is what really throws people off, because I was listening to Biden talk. He signed that executive. I'm not trying to get into the whole Roe versus Wade thing, but he was signing an executive order talking about Roe versus Wade. He wanted to protect on a federal level, but he was talking about how the Supreme Court came up with that decision that they came up with, saying that that the Constitution didn't say that, and this is that. He was pretty much stating what you're stating, how these judges are using their position to push it off as if they're giving law or giving rule of law, and they aren't. And you can see it on a grander scale, just on the federal level, on TV dealing with the president. So you can just imagine how much it is going on, like on a lower level, especially with your case being the only case going after what we call a policy enforcer for pretty much kidnapping, human trafficking, and it's just getting everything thrown at it.
Slavery. It's slavery.
Right.
It's slavery. Human trafficking is a form of slavery. The Human Trafficking Act is 13th Amendment legislation. This is what they have violated. And this is what she broke, and they are trying to suppress. And then while they're doing it, I'm seeing flyers, banners, and website posts from the state talking about human trafficking with white faces on the embassy.
Yeah, the poster children. Yeah.
So they want to paint white people as the victims of human trafficking, and then the focus of its enforcement by the actual agencies is on sex crimes.
Right.
They're not going after its original intent and purpose, which was to protect us, to make sure we wasn't being subjected to forged arrest warrant applications, because anybody that did it was going to get smoked. They was going to get roasted. Convicted, tried, and sent up the river.
Yeah.
But they made sure that they ain't convicting them.
Right.
It's so bad, and I challenged the prosecutor's office trying to dismiss the criminal charges against the detective. So, first of all, under the Crime Victim Witness Act, when you are a crime victim, the case is supposed to be heard in a location that is convenient for you.
And now
right?
we're just going to touch on that.
So, because of the nature of the situation, because it was a county-level detective that was charged, the Attorney General's office, the Jersey Attorney General's office stepped in and took over and assigned the case to the county next door. Now, I didn't live in neither of these counties. I ain't live in neither. The county where the false arrest and all that took place, I ain't lived there. I was visiting. And the county where the criminal case against the white law enforcement official was sent, to, I ain't lived there either. So that's right there, rate one. That's strike one right there from the Attorney General office, where they orchestrated to have the case sent to probably the whitest part of New Jersey, and at the very bottom, and pretty much damn near 2 hours away from where I actually reside.
And it's
right,
and I'm seeing
not fully understanding what I could do about that at the time. I actually went down there and sat with the prosecutor and talked about the case.
Right. Now,
and this area is Ku Klux Klan territory.
So you're in the wrong part of the neighborhood.
The detective who the charge is pending against is from a well-known Ku Klux Klan town, Millville, New Jersey.
Wow.
Plenty of black folks out there today, but it has a state history of being a Ku Klux Klan town.
Right.
So this is where she's from. Just to give you some background on her. The county where her criminal case was sent to one of the same counties identified on her resume, a law enforcement resume, as where she was trained.
Wow.
Okay, her boss is a black woman. Okay. Boss
Okay.
is a black woman. Her boss drafted an order to have the case transferred there after speaking with the Attorney General's office. And then she filed that order that she drafted with the court, and the judge granted that order and signed it, and that's how the criminal case got over there. Now, she knew what was going on. Black woman. Okay? Now, under the Crime Victim Witness Act, victims of crime are entitled to at least $50,000 and all types of government benefits. Depending on the crime, depends on the value of those benefits. Well, human trafficking, a victim of human trafficking is entitled to grade A top-notch benefits and the entire $50,000. And the benefits I'm talking about extend to housing and other things economically. At this time, the black woman was the head of the New Jersey Crime Victim Witness Office. So after justice was obstructed, she sent me a letter and told me that they wouldn't be giving me nothing because the detective wasn't prosecuted.
Man. And I see that you tried to even transfer out of there, and they wouldn't even let you transfer out of there.
Yeah. Well, that transfer is from the Third Circuit. There's a Rule 26 of the Judicial Disability Act allows you to request for a transfer to another circuit if there are extraordinary circumstances. So, of course, Judge McKee denied 3 transfer requests.
Wow.
Saying that there's extraordinary circumstances, but again, he's lying because, one, obstruction of justice is an extraordinary circumstances, and he himself is responsible for obstructing the human trafficking charge and obstructing justice in the civil litigation against that same criminal defendant, the
Right.
white law enforcement official. And this is a black judge doing this. So, from what I've been seeing, black government officials have been backing up their white colleagues when they're committing crimes against black people.
And that's crazy.
Me, for sure. They're doing me. Think about this. They're doing this to me as a plaintiff and a crime victim. If they're doing that to me, under those stats, you know what they're doing to the criminal defendant.
Oh, yes. Definitely. I mean, I'm steadily reading over the documents, and I'm seeing things like where you quoted, to date, no impartial, neutral, detached court has upheld the validity of the orders that was issued by the judges Smith, Chigares, or McKee. That means that nobody else agrees with them, but yet they won't let you move out from up under them 3 in order to be able to get a judge that don't agree with them. They really don't want you to have that privilege.
Fairness. They don't want me to have fairness.
Right.
And the fun thing is, whenever you get through that paper, you'll see where I'm quoting from Judge McKee's paper that he published years back called Judges as Umpires.
I think I seen that. Yeah, I did see that.
In that paper, he's talking about how judges are supposed to be neutral. Like, when I come into the court with forged arrest warrant and other evidence backing it up, I mean, crying out loud. I got transcripts. These issues have been addressed in state court already. I made the state court judges look at them documents and give me their decision on it, and they concurred with me. They not signed by a judge. They lack probable cause finding. It's all kinds of things wrong with them. For example, when she put the address for the court, she used the municipal court, not the court for the judge that she said issued them, which was the Superior Court.
Right.
So the judge for the court that she addressed him to, when he got them, and I'm talking to him about him, he's like, well, shit. When we talk about exigent circumstances, he's like, well, yeah, you're right. Shit, I was open. It was there, exigent circumstances. Yeah. If the municipal court is open and we 2 blocks away from the municipal court, why would you need to get a telephonic warrant? See, all these things have already came up that have been dealt with.
Right.
But these crooked judges who exclusively have a thing for Moors, like they got a bias towards black people identifying as Moors.
Right. Right. And that's the weird part right there, because it's like, not only was black people's identity stolen from them by the progenitors of the United States, but the United States has since then, up under the so-called Bill Clinton administration, apologized and tried to say that they need to rectify this, but yet not showing any efforts to actually rectify this. Now I see, like, because there's a lot of. Go ahead.
I was going to say, most of the badges of slavery that the 13th Amendment is supposed to eradicate, and the legislation is supposed to further eradicate those badges,
right,
are still in play because of the custom in the courts. It is the courts keeping those very badges alive. So when you listen to the congressional hearings, if you start realizing, and you kind of start seeing it when you start reading a lot of case law, is that Congress passes the laws, the courts are supposed to interpret and enforce. What they're doing is interpreting them in a manner so that they are not enforceable.
Wow. Pretty much disabling the law.
Lawyer tricks. They're lawyer tricks, and they're really it's really an unlawful practice of law. And there's a federal law against judges practicing law when they're on the bench. But that's what's happening, and they're not being prosecuted for it because they're former prosecutors.
So they know all the loopholes. They know all the shields. They know how to get away with murder, literally.
It's really no loopholes for them. Honestly, the loopholes ain't there. What there is control over media, things like that. See, when you can't put the cameras on them and let everybody watch them and see how they're doing, they're going to continue to, move like they in the dark. That's just what it comes to.
You're right.
They publish nothing but false statements. You read my 2 lawsuits, read their opinions. Most of them is false statements, fake crimes.
Right.
But the majority of people, or at least my community anyway, the majority of my community is not reading my case opinions. They're not reading them. And then the ones that may read them are trying to use them to discredit the Mujaddid organization.
Right. Yeah, and I've seen that. I your boy from the MSTA, the big head dude. I'm sorry, I ain't trying to pick on him or nothing like that, but I watched a couple of years ago. He had brought up a podcast where he was talking about the Mujaddid Society, and he was pretty much calling them clowns, but he never stated any facts. He was just spitting nothing but his opinions and his feelings. And one thing that I've come to learn is whenever you in this arena, anybody who starts off with their opinions or starts off with their feelings is baseless off jump. They already are starting off wrong. They're starting off like the Europeans that are in this high position who have a bias towards Moors. So it's detrimental right there to the movement. They're stopping the movement itself, and this is how you can see the paid actors who have been pretty much implanted so that they can grow weeds and destroy.
Indeed, that is part of the reason why Kugler did that 200-page opinion, and again tried to redefine Moors as sovereign citizens based on it. This same thing was being done in the Black Identity Extremist Report that was getting attention last year. It made it before Congress and eventually got struck down as being a white supremacist based document. It's racist. I love the fact that I think it's Congresswoman, is it Sheila Lee Jackson? Not sure if that's the one, but I know she's in California, one of the congresswomen, black woman. She was tearing their ass up on there about that report.
Oh.
But what did not come up, and what I'm exploiting in my litigation is the fact that out of that entire report, that entire Black Identity Extremist Report, there is one line in it that says that the Black Identity Extremist ideology comes from Moorish sovereign citizens.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Okay? So there's a connection between these types of racist opinions that these judges have been putting out and what the white supremacists in government have been trying to do with it. Not just government, but more so law enforcement.
Right.
Because the Black Identity Extremist Report is an FBI paper, but I am pretty much 100% sure that whoever put that Black Identity Extremist Report together has read these opinions. These opinions about Moorish litigants coming from these racist judges. And not just those opinions, but the law school papers coming out, like the one I was telling you about that's from Rutgers.
Right.
Now, let me get you the name for that right now, because I forgot. Pull it up. Morton Temple, Rutgers.
Yeah, because we definitely need to get people to start actually reading these documents, and like you say, we in building that media presence.
They need to read them with knowledge and understanding of what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what's permissible, what's not permissible. You know, and I can tell the majority of the community ain't really identify that by some of the commentaries from people outside of Morocco per se that might have come across these racist opinions. Those individuals need to be educated on due process.
Right.
They need to be educated on First Amendment rights and things like that. The fact that they don't understand these things, does us no justice, because it does nothing but create, pools of chaos amongst us, when all of us should be collectively getting at these people about their violations of the law.
Right.
shouldn't be the only Moor complaining about the racism against Moors
Exactly.
in the informal process. You know what I'm saying? You know, so
It's like as a Moor, we supposed. One thing that I've learned is that as a Moor, we supposed to actually do our study and do our due diligence. And it's not. It sounds like it's a lot more people that are in it for the notoriety. They in it for because it's a new thing. A lot of people stay trending with it, and it's actually hurting the actual movement because these are the ones that the government can use to build that stigma against the Moorish identity.
yeah, which they also, you know, it's funny because they ultimately extended it to the entire black community. That's why they came out with they looked at all the opinions from the courts about the Moorish litigants and came up with the Black Identity Extremist Report.
Right.
And you don't find it's connected to the Moorish element until you actually thoroughly read it and you come across that line that says that the ideology of the Black Identity Extremist is Moorish sovereign. It comes from Moorish sovereign citizens. Right? So once again, it goes back to them trying to criminalize the sovereign citizen identity, right? But the problem with that is majority of the sovereign citizens are white people, and this is spoken about before Congress during the hearings on the Black Identity Extremist Report.
Right.
The facts and statistics was placed in record, right? Majority of sovereign citizens are white people.
Yep.
Okay, so why are these doing 200-page opinions about Moorish litigants with full intent and scope of trying to describe and define them as sovereign citizens? But you have no sovereign citizen opinion about Irish people, English people, Scottish people, Welsh people, Jewish people. See what I'm saying?
Yes. Definitely. Definitely.
Have all kinds of religious groups and backgrounds involved with the sovereign citizen movement. And a large majority of them are white people.
Right. And that just like with the mass shooter incidences. Like I was reading an article the other day that said that the Congress want to start including, and again, all of these are tragedies, but they should be separated within its own element because they said that now they're going to start doing like gang shootings and stuff like that where people do drive-bys or what. They're going to start classifying that as mass shootings. And if we look at it, there are a lot more like drive-by shootings, gang-related shootings coming out of Chicago alone versus the mass shooters. But it seems like they're trying to make it seem like the mass shootings is strictly black people versus the white counterparts that are going and shooting up schools and shooting up hospitals and shooting up public places where innocent people are losing their lives and things of that nature. They're trying to couple that together so that it takes away that white identity from mass shooting. It's the same thing I'm hearing with the sovereign citizen movement.
Yeah, exactly. This is what they've intended to do, you know, and that's supposed to justify the obstruction of justice that they're doing. Because see, my civil claims is exclusively constitutional, federal, statutory, and that includes those Moorish treaties. So what the judge who did the 200-page opinion with Mora Kush did was tried to strike down the treaty. He tried to rewrite the treaty. Now that's called usurpation of power. That's a legal phrase. Usurpation of power. No judge is authorized to rewrite a treaty.
Right.
See? So, but then you got goofy Moors that'll read his attempt to rewrite the treaty and say, look, it don't work, and this don't apply to this, and look, judge said this, and he done lied. He done falsified statements. in violation of 28 USC 1001, and these guys are swallowing.
Yeah, and it always amazes me how we can believe a known liar. We know that these people lie, so you're gonna quote a known liar. That's not it never.
Yeah.
I could never fathom that.
Yeah, just to try to throw shade on you.
Right.
You know, try to put smut on your name. You know, and it's foolishness. And then the sad part is these guys don't really be putting in no work.
Exactly.
You know, they just trying to getting YouTube views and stuff. You know, likes and stuff. You know, they're not actually putting in no work. You know what I'm saying? And it was an article years ago. I've been trying to find it because I actually wanted to throw it in as in my exhibit list. How I'm establishing the extraordinary circumstances that exist, and why these people that have been dealing with this stuff is not competent and able to actually deal with it. But to go on, the article was from it was a reporter interviewing a state judge, Jersey. And in the article, the judge told the reporter that he told the defendants came in his courtroom with feathers on, and they were black, and talking about the treaty, and he told them that the treaty was expired, and he said after that they took off their feathers and left the courtroom.
Wait, what? They just gave up like...
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He pretty much was saying after he told them the treaty was expired, they took their feathers off.
They gave right up.
That's pretty much what he said. So, those particular individuals, like there you go, they gave right up. Those particular individuals wasn't true to the game. And that's essentially what you got in this movement. There's a lot of people, getting involved and claiming their identity and stuff, but they're not really true to the game. And that's really why I don't have the support I should have when I'm trying to defend the entire race,
right,
the brand, more against those that try to throw smut on it. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. It ain't gonna stop me from dealing with them. It's just, the more support, the better the result, the quicker the result.
Right.
That's what that comes down to.
Yes. Yeah.
And got a lot of us, they don't care. It just is what it is. They don't care. In fact, you got some people of the mind of, they already done threw smut on the Moors' names, so I'm out go with something else. You got that mentality too. I'm out run with Indian or something. They shitting on them too.
Right. Right.
The only difference is they got some strong factions amongst the American Indians that be tearing their ass up in court, getting $500 billion in reparations and shit like that.
Right, right, because they learned how to. Yeah, that's because they learned not only the law but the rule of law in order to be able to make things happen for them in that courtroom. And whereas we're already stigmatized as not even being able to read, let alone being able to practice law in the courtroom and to present ourselves when we say we represent ourselves.
And then those of us that don't have the nature to help. We have black attorneys. We got people in law school. We got people in government. They ain't interested in helping other black folks.
Yep.
With the exception of a small few. With the exception of a small few, there's always that small few. But I was watching something the other day, and they were talking about there's always there's always a few bad apples. Problem with it, if you got a bag of bad apples, not a bag, but if you got a bag of apples, and you got one bad apple and a bag of good apples, guess what happened to the good apples after a matter of time?
Yep. And if you don't get rid of that one
rotten apple will spread to the rest of them apples in that bag.
Yep.
Because
more than likely it's a worm in it. Yep. Because I like to say that this is it's that worm in it that's eating out the core of the apples from the inside out, and you see that with the government just implementing whatever they can in order to destroy the integrity of what you're learning. So if you're not, everybody who's listening right now, if you're not learning this with the ambition of being the change that you seek, then your position will be changed by those who want to destroy what you got going on. They and it'll be easy. You have no foundation. Your foundation is what? Money. Go ahead.
There you go. I was about to say that the black legal community, the people who have the license to get in there and get busy, they are money orientated. They are greedy. They are money and selfish interest. They don't have an incentive to look out for other black folks being mistreated by their colleagues. You understand? This is the difference between them and the American Indian lawyers that's been getting bags for the American Indian community, whichever tribe's been out there doing their thing. That's the difference. They recognize a debt is owed to the tribe, and they go after that debt.
Yes. Together.
Our people are attorneys just so they can have a good job with benefits. And once they get that, they don't care about what's going on with you.
Exactly.
And even if what's going on with you is going on with a majority of everybody else. So that's another problem we got, within our own community. We got that issue right there too. And the thing is that none of these issues I'm talking about are exclusive to anybody identifying as a Moor. It's just I'm a Moor and I'm still dealing with the same racism that I would have been dealing with if I was just identifying as exclusively black.
Right.
Racially black.
Right.
I use blackness in terms of color because discrimination against color is also illegal.
Yes.
The difference between race and color legally. Most people use them in the same context, but in terms of terminology, when you look at discrimination laws, they will put race, national origin, color,
creed,
religion, so on and so forth.
Yep.
Now they got sexual orientation.
Yep.
So that's the other thing. I'm looking at what's going on. A lot of the resources for any type of civil rights, collective civil rights movement has been going to groups like Black Lives Matter. They're only concerned with sexual orientation.
Right.
They're only concerned with the discrimination against black, LGTB. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So that they take that to the face of the civil rights movement, but it's not. The real civil rights movement is still dealing with law enforcement in the court system because they are still practicing customs left over from the former slave era.
Right.
Such as abuse of process. Abuse of process is an incident relic to slavery. And they have case law that defines the abuse of process as the deprivation of procedural due process. In other words, a slave didn't have right to testify. Slave didn't have right to present evidence. Slave didn't have right to sue. Slave didn't have right to protect his property. This is the same situation I'm in right now.
Right.
It's 2022. I'm in the same situation.
Exactly.
Anytime a government official falsifies a narrative, he has violated your due process. That is a crime. It's criminal. Not just a civil issue. It's criminal. So there's a situation here where we got a community that sit there and watch the government commit crimes against other individuals and have no kind of interaction with holding anybody accountable. So it's just corruption all around the board.
Yep. And then they give
Corruption
us
in your own community, corruption in the government.
yeah, and then they give us little wins here and there, like with Derek Chauvin and the cop that killed Botham John. You know, I say they give us those little ones to appease us, to make us seem like, oh, we are getting change and things are happening, not realizing that even during slave days, if the overseer damaged the slave unnecessarily, that overseer was also punished because you're damaging my property now. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Same thing.
So
that's the situation.
Yeah. So we need to get more on.
Badges of slave.
Yeah, we definitely need to get more on building up the media presence around it, which is what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm hoping to build with this podcast that I got.
Yeah.
But we also need to find out how to support. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now I was going to say, as another example, out of that same case information you got, I done sent that to the Young Turks Network.
Yeah.
Addressed to the brother Rashid. I forgot his last name. Media brother.
On the Young Turks.
No response from them. No response, no correspondence. It's hard to get in contact with him. So even if I wanted to get him this information directly, I can't even get it to him because of the way they got their contact system set up.
Dr. Rashad Ritchie.
Boy Martin. Same thing. What'd you say?
I was saying Dr. Rashad Ritchie with the Young Turks.
Yeah, Dr. Rashad Ritchie. So, brother, I would love for him to get this evidence and go over this information. Can't get to him, though. Boy Martin, same thing. So why is it so difficult to get to these black media gurus?
Right.
And to be honest, a lot of the stuff they reporting on and this stuff I'm dealing with is sometimes more severe than some of the stuff they talking about, and if not equal. As a matter of fact, they talking about recently an arrest warrant for one of them white women involved with the Emmett Till case was discovered, had been suppressed.
Right.
For all this time. Right now they're suppressing a peonage complaint for the white law enforcement defendant I'm dealing with. See what I'm saying?
Right. And
same tactics is still being used.
Yeah, and then they try to
still going on.
They try to rectify their karma by, oh well, it's been 80 years. Let's go ahead and release this information and see if we can make it right. These people have now already passed and they've never been punished, so that karma will not be rectified.
Oh no, the woman for who the arrest warrant is for is alive.
And they still not moving on it.
Living her best life. She's an old woman right now. Nope, they didn't lock her up like they did Bill Cosby.
Right. And they're probably going to use her age as an excuse.
She's still living her best life. You know what I'm saying? So, this one that did this to me, while I'm suing her in her office, her job, and so on and so forth, criminal charges pending against the state court and all that, she turns around and sues her job for sexual harassment. Right?
Right.
They gave her a promotion.
Oh my God.
While her lawsuit was pending, they gave her a promotion. You see the article cited in the paperwork. If you open up the appendix, you'll actually see the article in the appendix. Okay, that's one thing, right? So, another article in there. The same county that I'm suing, that she worked for, that knows she forged the documents, because they know, because the judge, she said, issued them telephonically, also worked there. They got the same letter I got from his clerk, which is the trial court administrator, saying ain't no telephonic records, don't exist, wasn't no warrant that was issued in my name, bang, bang, boogie, right?
Right.
So, they settles with her, gives her $275,000 settlement.
Wow.
Gave her a promotion and a $275,000 settlement while I had charges pending against her for breaking the law, lying about a judge, on and so forth. Now, before I exposed her, one of her colleagues, Hispanic municipal detective, municipal level, they were on the same task force. He used the same judge name with a bogus search warrant issue. Said something about that same judge and lied to that same judge whose name she used. They threw him under the bus. They washed him up, they fired him, they took away his pension. He got denied relief every time he tried to sue and get his job back, so on and so forth. He can no longer ever be a police officer again, so they say, right? But she did the same thing he did. They gave her $275K and a promotion.
Yeah, to be more careful.
And then obstruct the justice in my litigation against her. All at the same time.
Wow. So it's just like what you got going on doesn't even exist to them.
Oh no, it was their worst nightmare. They had to obstruct justice. They didn't want no case law or nothing that shows a more tore their ass up legally.
Right, because then that's pretty much precedent right there for every other Moor to be able to get same rectification.
That's the way they look at it, but it's not really so, because every other Moor would have to have the same understanding of the claims and the legalities as me, or a better understanding, and that ain't the case. That ain't the case. The large majority of really don't understand how to sue, and I had to learn it from experience. I didn't, I learned it from trial and error.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I just perfected the craft. I just kept researching and perfecting the craft and figured out what I needed to figure out, but it got thorough. So,
That's right. You didn't give up. See, that's the main thing right there. You never gave up. You never took what they said at face value. You made sure that you studied it. You showed your own approval on that, which is something we just don't do, and which we need to, as Moors, as black people, as just as people all in general. We need to get more into the habit of wanting to be more concerned with ruling our own livelihood versus letting our lives be ruled for us. And until then, I think we're going to continue to see more instances such as yours. And I just applaud you, brother, for continuing to fight, not giving up, learning what you learned and putting it into action. Because we don't have a lot of technology like that. A lot of people don't know how to apply the knowledge that they get. and you're showing them how to do that. So I just want to applaud you on that first and foremost.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be putting together a course. We have courses already on the Mauritius University website, but I'm going to put one together that's exclusively dealing with this particular process because of the how severe it is in terms of it ain't just the black community. It's a lot of U.S. citizens or Americans do not know how to deal with judicial misconduct, especially federal, and that is in part one of the reasons why we continue to have corrupt judges remain on the benches, is because the people that these judges are committing crimes against, those victims are not executing the process to get remedy from what those judges did. In most cases, a large majority would file an initial judicial conduct complaint, and then those circuit counsels will come back and say they didn't find no misconduct, case closed. And they'll think that it's over with from there.
Right. They don't know how to follow up.
But it's actually not. Yeah, you got to read the rules. I can give you an example. The last order I got, which is what has allowed me to put this document in, came from Judge Ambrose, Third Circuit, and he sent me an order with a false statement in the first sentence. First sentence opens up with him saying that this is in response to an April 22 order issued by Chief Judge Chigares. Chigares didn't issue no order in April 22. McKee did, but McKee was disqualified when he did it.
Right.
So they know that was illegal. So McKee didn't respond this time, so they put this guy Ambrose on it. And Ambrose's order is saying that Chigares issued the order. Well, that's a false statement. Chigares didn't issue nothing. He was disqualified because I got a complaint against him. See what I'm saying? A judge cannot be a judge in his own cause.
Exactly.
If you are a part of the transgressor in the dispute, you can't be the judge.
Yep.
But they'll try to be the judge anyway. They'll try to be the judge anyway.
What is that word?
But this is what I mean about them unlawfully practicing law. That's unlawful practicing law because there's a conflict of interest, which is prohibiting that judge from being able to sit on that case. So when he says fuck the conflict of interest, he's now unlawfully practicing law, and he as a bar member.
Exactly.
He is now an attorney with the robe on, unlawfully practicing law. He's not acting judicial. He's acting criminally.
Right.
Because unlawfully practicing law is criminal. You cannot be a judge and an attorney for one of the parties at the same time, and this is what they're trying to do. I'm coming into court with valid claims and supported exculpatory evidence. When I say exculpatory, that means government produced. They made it. None of these documents were created by me. These are all documents these white people sat down in the office on their computers and fabricated. And now it's coming back to bite them because they're false.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, and they be the attorneys out of these groups of people trying to guide them on how to try to cover things up.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
And so you know what I'm saying? So you got to be aware of the attorney tricks from what's real. Because some of this stuff they do, if you don't know no better, you'll think you'll put credibility into it.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the sad part about the system. And black people are involved in bed with white people doing this to people, whether they black or white.
Man.
If you ain't on their team, if you ain't on the attorney team, it's fuck you. If you not on the road team, it's fuck you. See what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Unless you got that media attention. Just like what's the brother? Byron, I forgot his name, but the brother that was suing Comcast earlier this year, in the last year. He a billionaire, if I recall. He had the media attention. He had the money for the lawyers. Still didn't win. He won at the circuit level, but when it went to the Supreme Court, they did some BS.
Wow.
Although he's a billionaire, guess what? He's not.
Right, Byron
He's
Allen.
not an attorney.
Yep, Byron Allen.
Yeah, he's not an attorney. You know, so they show favoritism to the attorneys, which is illegal, but this is what they do.
Right. Right. I mean, and it's right there. It's you could. Yeah, you could definitely look that up and see that for yourself.
You can have the evidence, and the attorney just sit there straight up lie. The judge just sit there and support the lie.
Right.
To the point where he's now spitting the lie in documents with the court name on it, making it look like this is the conclusion the court came to after it reviewed the evidence.
When that's far from the truth.
When it disregarded the evidence.
Right.
The same way they disregarded that arrest warrant for the lady that was involved with the Aemer situation.
Wow.
The same way they think they're going to disregard my charges. They can go ahead and try to get disregarded, but that's what's going to happen. You're going to be documented as being a part of obstructing justice. So that's the side of history you want to take, then that's fine.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I told McKee in my disqualification, that's one of the appendixes too. Yeah, get through it. No, it's a whole, man. That appendix is like 700 something pages.
Yeah, I seen it.
But that's because a majority of it is their opinion. That Kugler opinion is like 200 pages. I got that in there because I'm getting at that. But that's a part. That's separate from the obstruction of justice. But I'm pointing out the only reason you obstruct justice is because you're racist.
Right.
And for the blacks that's in office that's doing it, they're ethnic discriminators. They're discriminating against this ethnic discrimination. Same thing we had in Africa. They running with African American and black. They don't like you because you pushing this more thing.
Yep.
Even though they got the same ancestry.
Exactly.
Ethnic discrimination when it comes to the blacks in office. So don't think that just because black. See, that's the other fake image they want to present. Oh, we're gonna put a black judge on his case so he can't say it's racism.
Right.
Yeah, it's ethnic discrimination. It's national origin discrimination.
Yep. And see,
and it's religious. He's Christian, I'm Muslim. He's Christian, I'm Muslim.
Yep. And then the first thing we still want to scream is racism, not realizing we're not calling it by the right name, so they're going to throw it out every time. How can it be racism when he looks like you?
Yeah, that's why I claim a different race. I'm a Moor. He runs with African American, but I make sure I footnote the first African American was a Moroccan.
Right. That part.
Esteban. Stephen the Moor. Yeah, so that's footnoted. You know, so that's why when I criticized this article, talking about the Constitution has to work well for African Americans, I'm criticizing them because it's not working because you're not enforcing it. I gave you 3 forged arrest warrant applications, which means my 4th Amendment right was violated 3 times in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And you covered it up. So that's why the Constitution ain't working. It ain't the Constitution, it's you.
Exactly.
Then I came back a couple years later with invalid subpoena evidence. You got Trump. Trump's been in court since he's been in office over subpoena issues, all the way to the Supreme Court. They doing all kinds of legal briefs and opinions on it and stuff. Read through my case. You won't see them mention that subpoena one time.
Wow. Because they know where it stands.
So what happened in that case, there's a 30-day statute of limitations for serving a summons for certain traffic violations. So I was in a car accident. Days after the accident, the officer decided I was at fault. So he filed an electronic ticket. Once he did that, the procedure with the court is that the court will mail out the ticket or the summons, whatever one you want to use, same thing, ticket, summons. They'll mail it to the defendant. So in my situation, they mailed it to an old P.O. box that I no longer owned. No longer had control over it, don't have a key. It belonged to somebody else.
Right.
So it got sent back to them from the post office. So when it comes back from the post office, the rules require them to find another address for the person and send it there or personally serve them. So I don't know that this is going on.
Right.
I figured this out after the fact. I'm waiting to get the police report from my insurance company because she hit me. The woman hit me. Unbeknownst to me, the woman told the officer I jumped in front of her.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that at the time that she told the officer that because I wasn't over there when he was talking to her.
Right.
But this is what all comes down to. This is what all the backstory. So I'll get the police report 10 days later. I'm looking at it, and then I notice it's a summons number near my information. I'm like, what? I didn't get no summons. So I'm like, what the hell? So I go through the report. The report is bogus. It's false. He got a whole false narrative. He ain't do nothing but take what the woman that hit me, he took what she said and put it in the report as if it's his own narrative.
Right.
So I got at him, chipped him up, and charged him with false reports.
Yep.
He tried to change the report.
Yep. And that's what.
So after I charged him with false reports, they try to change their report.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Fix the report to correspond with what I said was wrong or false about the first report. That's retaliation. That's First Amendment retaliation.
Wow.
First Amendment retaliation states that if one report is false and you try to go back and do a second report to cover up the first report, that's First Amendment retaliation. And that's kind of the same thing that's going on with these judges and the opinions that they're doing. So, I charge you again false reports because the second one he did, still have false information in it. Not only do they have false statements in it, they leave out information.
Yeah.
They leave out critical information. Like critical information that, if publicly aware, would preempt him from filing a summons against me. You know what I'm saying? So they get my phone number off the complaint against the officer, and they call me and they tell me that my complaints are being processed. There was a hearing for me that I didn't know nothing about this hearing, right? There was a hearing for me that I missed, but it was rescheduled pending the decision on your complaints against the officer. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, okay. All right. So, of course, about 3 weeks later, they sent me a letter telling me they don't find no probable cause on my complaint against the officer. Well, why did he change his report?
Right.
He got charged with false reports. Why he changed his report? If there's no probable cause. Why he didn't keep it the same? Anyway, okay. So, they contact me again by phone, and they tell me that I got a hearing. Right now, mind you, they still haven't given me this so-called ticket, right?
Right.
They got 30 days to serve the ticket. They still ain't gave me the ticket. Now, the 30 days starts over when the ticket comes back to them from the post office, right? And let me be clear, this is only in situations where it comes back from the post office legitimately. This is not if you got a P.O. box and they send it to your P.O. box and you just let it get returned, it's going to be marked different. They get marked a certain way when they return something legitimate.
Right.
Versus they know you sent it back versus it went to the wrong address, right? Or went to an address not owned by the last, the person they're looking for.
Right.
So 30 days starts over once they get the new address, right? So they had my residential address from the criminal complaints I filed, the false report complaints I filed against the officer. So they used those to call me, but they never used it to send the ticket.
Wait.
So they tell me I got a hearing on a certain day. I shows up on this day. I go to the court window because I noticed the courtroom door is locked. Like, ain't nobody in here. I'm like, what the hell? But I see it's a line of black folks. A line of black folks, and at the end of that line is 2 white officers. And these 2 white officers passing out subpoenas. They're giving these people in line, everybody in line wasn't black, but the majority of them was.
Right.
And they're giving subpoenas to everybody in this line.
Damn. So they catching them at the last minute.
So the key to that is you cannot subpoena an accused party. A subpoena is only for witnesses.
Right.
If you got a ticket against somebody or a charge against somebody, you can't subpoena them. You can only summons them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I get to the line, I talk to him. He's talking to me like he's rescheduling a court date for me and all that, and then he gives me the subpoena instead of giving me the ticket. You know what the subpoena say? You hereby commanded to appear in your own case testify against yourself.
Dang. Come on now. Make that make sense.
That's you right there about knowing how to read is important, because everybody else in that line didn't know how to tell the difference between the ticket and the subpoena.
Right. Wow.
And none of them knew nothing about statutes of limitations and none of that. So, nonetheless, they never give me the ticket. They give me the subpoena. I tails them up over it. Case gets dismissed in my favor eventually. I sued them all in the same boat. The same judge that does the Moorish race-related opinion with the Morokush cases is the same judge who makes sure he gets my lawsuit. And when he gets the lawsuit, he suppresses the subpoena evidence, dismisses the case.
Are you serious?
Okay, another important note, the attorneys for the municipality that I sued did not have a thorough defense. So guess what he did? He relied on that same judge's opinion from the Morokush cases where he's discriminating.
Right.
And he's telling him, look, you said this about him, you said that about him, you need to dismiss it because you said he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. So because he don't know the ins and outs, he don't know the ins and outs of the actual case, he just know when he reading that opinion. This lawyer is under the impression that anytime I might make a historical citation or reference or refer to something that, refers to the Moors or something like that, some kind of historical citation or something, he thinks that that's what the judge is talking about in his opinion when he tells me not to come back in court with that Morokush lingo.
Oh my goodness.
But that's not what he's talking about. But that's what the attorney thought.
Right.
So anytime I'm writing something back, he's coming back, look, Judge, he's still using Morokush lingo. You need to dismiss it because of that. Blah, 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 blah. The good thing is, when they did a motion to dismiss, they attached a copy of that same racist-ass opinion written by the same judge presiding over that case. So I had to do a brief in opposition. So I took the opportunity to respond point to point, not only to the attorney, but to everything that judge said in that case, at least with respect to me.
Right.
Or anything pertaining to the Moorish infamy generally. Because like I said, there was a whole bunch of other people from other states at that time that were members that had used the company name to bring lawsuits as well. So a lot of their stuff was just lumped in there. It ain't got nothing to do with me, you know what I'm saying, or my particular legal situation.
Right.
So it was just a way to put some legal smut on the brand, the company brand.
Yep.
To deter other people from joining. You know what I'm saying? So, by the end of the day, though, I do a brief in opposition. I go point for point. Everything he said about the treaty, I chipped him up. Hit him with case law, hit him with historical academic responses and citations and references. He ain't got nothing for those particular issues. He was lying. Everything he said was false. Like I said, it constitutes usurpation of power. And I got Supreme Court case law contradicting everything he said. Shit you talking about, Supreme Court and I already said you can't do that.
Right.
Way before you tried to do it.
Wow.
So what does he do? He denies the motion to dismiss. But guess how he did it?
How's that?
He did it as moot, which he was not supposed to. He said he denied their motion to dismiss my suit as moot. He was supposed to deny that shit with prejudice, and he was supposed to go into the details of what their argument was.
Right.
He didn't want to do that because he was the inspiration for their argument. They didn't have nothing for the subpoena claims. They had nothing. No defense. No immunity. No statute of limits. None of them defenses was available. So all he did was try to rely on that racist opinion made by the very judge he was able to get the case in front of. And he, knowing he don't like Moors, he ain't supposed to take the case. It's a conflict of interest. But he's taking them anyway because he's racist.
Right. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? If you're a judge and you don't like a particular ethnic group, race, or whatever, if you don't like a certain, you got personal issues against that person, you're not supposed to take that case.
Exactly. You're supposed to recuse yourself. You never did.
Exactly. It's due process violation.
Wow.
Recusal is part of your due process.
Yep. And that's when jurisdiction and venue comes in.
Yeah, because if you are disqualified, if you're a judge, you're disqualified, or you're recused, you jump on the case anyway, you violate due process. So you ain't got no jurisdiction, subject matter wise.
Wow.
That's why the transfer is required. The problem with the recusal statute, I would say with a flaw with it, is it gives the judge his own honorable integrity type discretion to admit that he's biased.
Right.
However, there's a catch net for those that are biased against the people before them and don't want to recuse because they have to respond point for point to your disqualification affidavit. So you'll see mine in the appendices whenever you get to it, and you'll see the opinions from the Judicial Council in there as well, and you will also notice there is no response to the grounds for recusal.
Man. So it's in
case law says when they fail to do that response and they stay on the case, they violated the due process.
And this is how you get them. You got to catch them right then and there.
It's custom. Yeah, it's custom for them to just be violating due process. But our community has to step up on, just community policing and all that.
Right.
I don't mean law enforcement. I mean within the group. This guy is going and doing lectures and interviews, fronting like he's in there holding it down for the rights of black folks. When he get at these little college interviews and stuff, people should be throwing apples and oranges at him.
Exactly.
Your lying ass off the stage.
Right. Well,
Nobody want to hear.
Yeah, well, it's only one way they're going to be able to get to that level. That's by studying.
No, he got this one interview. I'm going to find a link to this. I'm going to send you all the ones I just so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But he got one interview where he's talking about cooking coke.
Where he's talking about cooking coke?
Yeah, cooking cocaine.
Oh, wow.
About. But it came up in the context at a lecture he was doing at some university or something academic. where they were talking about the sentencing guidelines, or rather, he used the scenario of the sentencing guidelines between possession of crack cocaine and possession of cocaine in terms of talking about racial disparity. So it goes to show you that this guy's not dumb.
Right.
He knows the details behind the legal oppression that the community has had to deal with. He knows. Although he didn't grow up in a community of majority black folks, per se, his hometown of Rochester, New York. But he knows the history and he knows the legality.
Yeah.
He still helped them white folks obstruct justice in my case. But anyway, while he's at this lecture and they talk about the sentencing guidelines and racial disparities, basically admitting that the crack cocaine laws was passed to target blacks, and they made the difference because they knew blacks was going to be in possession of crack more than powder, and they knew whites was going to be largely in possession of, well, they thought anyway. They thought whites was going to just be largely having powder. Honestly, I think they didn't even care what whites was going to have. They
right.
was looking to re-enslave blacks anyway.
That was it.
So, he's talking about these issues before this crowd of students, law students, looking up to him like he Martin Luther King or something.
What?
You know what I'm saying?
Not like
so, yeah, that's how they look up. You know, and it ain't just black students, it's white students and everything, all in there, all fascinated with him because they want his job one day.
Right.
And they looking at him like he's somebody that does the job well. Right? So as he's discussing the racial disparity and all that, he got into the difference between crack and powder, explaining that there's no difference outside of, adding baking soda and all that or whatever. So he went in and he's talking about cocaine. And I'm listening to him, and I'm like, he don't sound like somebody that's talking about it from an outside perspective. He sounds like somebody that done cooked some cocaine.
Exactly. You know a little too much about this right here.
That's how he sounded to me. When you check it out, you let me know what you think. But that's how it sounded to me. You know what I'm saying? The way he talked about it. I'm like, it's a little bit too familiar. You know what I mean? But, it is what it is. Another interesting thing, when you watch one of the House Judiciary Committee talking about qualified immunity, there's two parts. I think it's the first part. But on one of them, Congressman, what's his name? Cohen. You got Congressman Cohen and you got Congressman Nader. I like them guys.
Right.
I like them guys because they don't try to beat around the bullshit with or the bush with a lot of the rhetoric that be coming from the Republican side when talking about things like this, civil rights, qualified immunity, judicial conduct, and all that.
Right.
They're like really interested in doing anything about it. Like that's how they did. I know people don't like the Democrats. I don't really get into it. I kind of see them all the same to a degree. Certain people is on certain things, so on and so forth. But I really am seeing that the Republican side has no interest in outside of not letting it go down or not helping with implementing better laws and policies to control and hold these public officials accountable, whether they judges, police, prosecutors, whatever. Because, as right now, they done They done create, even that, if you watch that congressional hearing on qualified immunity and really listen, you find that the whole immunity doctrine is bogus. That's just a method of oppression.
Right.
It's just a way not to give you the relief that the law entitles you to. And the experts is on there going into the details and the background on what the Supreme Court was using when they said that this immunity existed here and this immunity existed in this situation and all that. They was just coming up with bullshit that wasn't actually supported by the things they said supported them, according to the modern experts that done investigated. You know, so all that right there is all part of the corruption.
Right.
So it's top down. It's top down. I mean, why would you give the Supreme Court of the United States the power to refuse to hear a case?
Right. That don't even sound right.
What kind of shit is that?
That sounds suspect.
If they're not going to hear every case that comes before them, they need to be abolished.
Exactly. It's no reason.
Court need to be made. Make another court. You know, or they need to amend the Constitution and add that into one of the court's duties. So, yeah, I've been to the Supreme Court twice. And I made it to the third voting phase each time and got bumped. They got 3 voting phases. Why do you got to go through 3 voting phases?
Right.
Judges voting on whether or not they should deal with your case 3 times.
Wow. Wow.
Like, come on now. What kind? They be talking about these founding fathers. Like, what kind of structure is that? What kind of structure is that when you're talking about a justice system? You know what I'm saying? You got judges voting on whether or not they're going to hear your case 3 times. Not just once. 3 times. If you make it past the first one, you make it past the second one, you get bumped on the third one like I did. Waste of time.
And that's time they could have used to even listen to your case. That doesn't make sense at all. In that whole time that they took the vote on it 3 times, they could have just heard your case and dealt with it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Well, brother, it's about to come. We're about to run out of time. We only got like 5 more minutes before they actually we come to the end of it. But I wanted to get some information from you because we're trying to get some people to actually get together with you to actually support you and find out what we need to do on this end in order to be able to help you move forward. That way we can get a proper guidance or a proper example on how to handle these situations and be able to actually get the word out there so we can stop these incidences from happening in the first place. So how can we find you? How can we get in touch with you? Where can we follow you at? You was dropping some a course. How do we find that course? So on and so forth.
Yeah, well, we have certain courses available now at MotorCushUniversity.com. We have several blogs teaching significant legal information on MotorCushLawFirm.com. So you can get to me through both websites. Email MotorCushLawFirm.com @gmail.com, MotorCushLawFirm @gmail.com. You can get to me there. We got a Facebook page for the law firm. Now with the law firm, we don't have no attorneys yet. We've been trying to get indigenous or black attorneys to join so that we can have some people that got those licenses, available to litigate, issues with Moors and stuff. But we haven't been able to get none of our people that actually got licenses to get involved in any kind of way. However, the website is still up. The information is available. On the historical side, we got the MotorCushSociety.org website. Anybody looking to actually learn historically documented information regarding the Moors, their ethnicities and tribes and all that, right on the website, moorkushsociety.org.
Right.
Oh, definitely check out the Moor Kush Society Instagram and the Twitter. The Twitter doesn't have as much content as Instagram yet, but pretty soon a lot of that same information is going to be available on the Twitter as well. But the Instagram has all kinds of important evidence in terms of Moorish identity for the black folks that are, still learning or a suspect, about Moorish information as it relates to their race. So yeah, go on there, check that out. You'll see all that good information. Soak that up. Like I said, I could be emailed at moorkushslawfirm@gmail.com. Anybody, any legal experts out there that got something they can put in and assist with this stuff, or whatever kind of advice they might want. So I'm open.
That's what's up. Y'all hear that right there. So if y'all got any kind of legal training and you are indigenous, you're black, or you just want to see that this system that we've been taken advantage of is actually come to its conclusion, then you definitely need to get in touch. Reach out to them. We're going to be putting all the links in the description, so you can go click on the links for the historical society, for the law firm. We definitely need as many lawyers as possible that can actually, and even if you're not a lawyer, you can even train your children to come up in the ways to where they will become lawyers, and then take this fight on in the courtroom where it's supposed to be at. That way we can actually stop all of this travesty that's going on right now. And I'm guessing we can also get in touch with your case. The documents that you sent me, we'll be able to find out on your website as well too, right?
Yeah, pretty soon. It ain't up there yet. But I'm going to have it up there soon. It'll be on the law firm website, and it'll probably be posted on Script as well. Try to reach more people to get them aware, because that's one of their big concerns, at least with the higher ups in the courts, is the appearance of impropriety. So even if it don't look proper, they're not supposed to do it. It don't matter if it actually is proper. If it don't look proper, they ain't supposed to do it under that doctrine. But they still do it anyway because they don't care. They don't care about bringing no smut on the name of the United States court system, and those type of people that ain't supposed to be in there.
Right. So we definitely need to get them up out of there. And the only way we're going to get them up out of there is if you have the proper knowledge. Brother, it was great having you on here. It was great having you on once again. And we are going to we need to have you back on here regularly, man, because we're going to be definitely building a relationship with you. That way we can get this information out there. That way these people can actually learn. I want to applaud you for everything you have done, especially setting up the information to where we can actually be able to utilize it ourselves. And I just want to tell you, man, keep going. We behind you 100%. You have the support of BOSS Radio and Revolutionary Hour. So make sure that, whenever you need to get something out, you can reach out to us, and we'll make sure that the audience hears it. You hear me?
Indeed, honors and peace and love.
Peace and love to you too, brother. All right, everybody, you heard it right here. That's Aemer with Moor Kush Society. He's giving you all the jewels, some of the jewels that you need. Go get the rest of them. He told you how. Look in the description. Click that link. Go ahead and subscribe, and follow him at his social media sites, like you said, Instagram or Moor Kush Society. And make sure that you learn. The more you learn, the better we can be. This is Mr. E, boss of the Southside Bosses, and we are out. This will be Peace and Unity by Fire Prince. So make sure y'all hit that like button.
Another religion?
You know, combination of fire, prince and the religion.
thing and I know man better want to do mission. Yeah. We are soldiers on the front line. Rastafari name, we are held on the same time. Them happy know we are fight crime. Peace and the unity and that we endorse now. We are soldiers on the front line. Rastafari name, we are held on the same time. Them happy know we are fight crime. Peace and the unity are that we endorse now. We were born to preserve life. Never gonna see us involved in your fight, in no right. Be a Rasta or a Bingy to be involved in your negative vibes. We are here to share humility. Negativity can't win in this unity. Take away animosity. Your love will be strong, happy, more velocity. You are such a spondy front line. Rastafari name, we are held on the same time. Them happy know we are fight crime. Peace and the unity are that we endorse now. We are such a spondy front line. Rastafari name, we are held on the same time. Them happy know we are fight crime. Peace and the unity are that we endorse now. Fire upon the people who are supporting the war. Who are keeping suffering, they can't take it no more. Fire upon the governor, sheriff and the senator. Them supporting the war, them the war instigators. They think like alligators, them are dead, them no more. Waiting for the news, cause of them the crowns. Never gonna see them do the things that they real human are gonna do. We are the soldiers on the front line. Rastafari name, we are held on the same time. Them happy know we are fight crime. Peace and the unity are that we endorse now. We were born to preserve life. Never gonna see us involved in your fight. It's not right. Be a Rasta or a Bingy to be involved in your negative vibes. We are Rastas on the front line. Rastafari name, we are held on the same time. Them happy know we are fight crime. Peace and the unity are that we endorse now. We are soldiers on the front line. Rastafari name, we are held on the same time. Them happy know we are fight